about him?
Yeah, I think he's always been maybe someone that has been not sensitive, that's probably not the right word, but very aware of, you know, what people are saying about him, thinking about him. And I think naturally you take that to heart in a way. And I think he's been able to now sort of shut that out, not take any unnecessary energy or anything on board, and just be purely focused on the process of trying to win races. And it's having a great effect so far. And equally, I think he doesn't believe in momentum. I do believe in momentum, but he's gaining more and more momentum as his teammate is losing momentum. And just that in itself is already enough to...
So, the decision is what it is.
Yeah. You fought hard to get back. Listen, in terms of where the championship is now, it's not been an easy patch. 24 behind you are. We've got the 3 events to come. How do you size things up?
Just try and get the most out of it that I can, I think. You know, I think today, you know, the penalty was one thing, but I don't think the pace was at a level that I wanted it to be. I think the second half of the race potentially was not too bad, but the first stint was a little bit tough. So, just trying to get back on top of things with that, and try and have the best weekends we can.
Thank you.
To you and everyone at the team, that's back-to-back victories for Lando Norris. I mean, he said after not quite a big enough gap for my liking. I guess that underscores that it was by far from an easy victory today.
Well, first of all, an important back-to-back victory, as you said. You know, we've had a phase in which winning wasn't that easy. We needed to regroup, understand how we could work, extract a little bit more out of the car, do our best, execute perfect race weekends, and I think that's what happened. Certainly on Lando's side, and it's important that he's been rewarded with a victory that is relevant for the championship. But as you say, not necessarily an easy one as it was in Mexico. Today, the pace wasn't necessarily the fastest. Perhaps Verstappen was the faster car on track today. He also had some new tires, kind of a consequence of having been away from the final part of qualifying. But like he deserved, honestly, a podium finish based on the pace that he exhibited today. And a little bit of a shame that with Oscar we couldn't fight for the podium because of the penalty that we suffered.
Okay. What was your view and your interpretation of what happened at that incident with Antonelli that got Oscar the penalty?
Well, I need to review honestly with some attention. For the moment, we respect the decision of the stewards, and we need to take it on the chin and look forward.
Okay, is this now, I mean, it's P5 for Oscar now. He desperately needs something to reinvigorate, otherwise maybe his challenge is starting to look a bit delicate.
Well, we need certainly to make sure that we can extract the full potential out of the car and not out of Oscar's driving in all conditions. You know, lately we have faced these low grip conditions which have challenged his natural style. We need to make sure that we are able to extract the most even when things don't work to our natural strengths. And also we need to look at the execution of the weekend, because crashing in the sprint today with the penalty, we also need to review if there was something more we could have done with the strategy to help Oscar. So a few things that we need to review, not in a desperate way, but certainly in a rational way, and trying to capitalize on the strengths. We have many strengths on Oscar's side, and we need to make the best use of them.
Very good. Thank you very much for talking to us on what has turned out really to be Lando's weekend in all ways.
Yeah, it was a pole position in both qualifying session, then the victory at the sprint and the race. We couldn't ask more than this on Lando's side, but we need to continue with both drivers doing a good job, because there are 3 more races to go.
Okay. Thank you, Andrea.
Let's have another look at it. Jamie thinks that Oscar hard done by Carew.
I think that's a slightly flawed thing to apply here, because if Oscar had gone dive bombing in, right, to try to get to the apex first, as we saw Max doing in Mexico, he could have then, Antonelli could have then wiped out Leclerc even earlier in the corner. So I actually think that this is where, once again, like Mexico, the guidelines doesn't quite work. And I agree with Jamie. I think that it's quite a strong penalty. Maybe a 5, because the consequences were bad for the two. You know, Antonelli lost a lot of time, Leclerc got knocked out of the race. So to me, maybe a 5-second would have been okay.
I get the impression, correct me if I'm wrong, that the stewards made that decision based on, yes, he didn't quite have that front axle alongside the mirror of Kimi Antonelli at the apex, or going into that, and the little lock-up. And perhaps those two things combined, where you think it's controlled, they didn't think that was controlled and use that as evidence against him.
Yeah, I think they've kind of seen an incident and they have to sort of partial blame on someone. Sometimes I think there can be racing incidents. I don't think it's Kimi's fault as such. I don't think he deserves a penalty by any means, but I equally, just like I say, I think Oscar's been hard done by. I think in a racing situation like that, if you race to the apex and try and go by the guidelines, I think that's going to cause more issues sometimes. So in this instance, for me, it's a racing incident, and yeah, Oscar's hard done by.
Yeah, but decisions like that, they can be big for the championship, can't you? So if you're on Oscar Piastri side of the camp, you're going to be thinking, you're going to be feeling doubly hard done by with the state of play right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he finished, 15 seconds off Lando. If he didn't have the 10-second penalty, he would have been second, right? So that's a chunk of points that he's lost. So, yeah, I would sense some frustration. It sounds like Andrea hasn't yet had a chance to look at all the videos. I suspect he would agree with what Jamie's been saying.
Okay, the man that did lose out, though, was Charles Leclerc. Let's see what...
Oscar was optimistic, but Kimi knew that Oscar was on the inside, I think, and he kind of did the corner like Oscar was never there. And for me, it's not, the blame is not all on us, Oscar. Yes, it was optimistic, but this could have been avoided, and it's, yeah, I'm frustrated. At the end of the day, I'm not angry with any of Oscar or Kimi. These things happen, but yeah, I wouldn't go as far as saying that it's all Oscar's fault. I don't think it is.
There you are, Jamie. You got Charles Leclerc's backing. You were right. Stewards were wrong.
It's not right, or that's the problem. It's not right or wrong, but it is. You actually make a very good point that these do have big championship repercussions, and I don't think Oscar had the pace to rival Lando in that race, but it did mean that he's lost a lot of points, which he's going to be frustrated about.
Okay, lots to wrap up. When we come back, we are going to be hearing from the driver of the day. What an unbelievable drive.
Max, absolutely magnificent effort. It was great to watch you out there today, from the pit lane to the podium. I mean, do you have positive feelings about that, or are you thinking what might have been if we'd had a better car earlier in the weekend?
Yeah, well, I mean, afterwards that's easy to say, but I think what I like is that yes, it has been very difficult for us this weekend, but the team never gives up. We always want to be better. We don't settle for a second. Otherwise, you can easily say after the sprint, you're like, well, let's not touch the car. We are not too bad. Let's not risk it. But I don't think that's the mentality of the team. We always want to try and find more performance. Of course, that didn't work out in qualifying. It probably helped us a little bit. But overall, to come from the pit lane all the way to the podium, 10, 11 seconds of the lead, I think, with a puncture as well, I think is an incredible result for us.
Yeah, listen, yesterday you said forget about the championship. It's 49 points, it's a long shot. How do you size it up now? I guess you...
We lost already way too many points, of course, in the beginning of the season, till the middle of the season. So that we were in that up until now already was quite a surprise, but we have to be realistic, I think, over the whole season. Of course, we haven't been good enough, but we will still try everything we can till the end of the season to score some highlights and try to win races. I mean, that's what we are here for.
Great job today.
Different, and you know, I'm not sure how many teams would have gone for that aggressive move that late on.
I'm not sure how many drivers would have been able to do that either. Yes, okay, virtual safety car, we saved in 10 seconds, didn't it, in that pit stop there, but then as you were saying, it was just the brilliance overtaking the midfield.
Yeah, it's something else. I feel like very, very, very few drivers can do that. I think he didn't really show it there in sort of his race review, but him carving through that midfield, that's the hard bit, because you can easily do a front wing, you can easily spend 2-3 laps too long, kill your tyres, but the fact that he just carried that momentum, got through the midfield so quick. I mean, I feel like I didn't even notice how quickly he did it. Suddenly, next thing I know, he was in the top 3, and I couldn't quite work out how, but he was just superior today. It was impressive what he's able to do, and clearly whatever Red Bull were able to do from yesterday overnight, put in that car today is working very well.
I think that's a really important point, because if I look at their race time, right, he's ended up 10 seconds behind Lando. He lost 20 seconds by doing an extra pit stop, saved 10 because of the VSC. So net, he would have ended up equal to Lando. You know what I mean? Like, if Red Bull started the weekend with the car he had today, they probably were as fast as the McLaren. And I think that's what he and the team will take out of this weekend is, you know, they started 2 days ago too far behind. Because actually in Austin, that's where they were. And they were just, they've gotten lost somehow on the over the Mexico weekend and into Friday here.
That said, I mean, despite the brilliance of that drive, that could probably have put paid to his championship ambitions. We'll talk about that in a couple of moments' time, but he's 49 points now behind Lando Norris. Let's hear from Laurent McKees, his team boss.
Wow, well, Laurent, what a drive, what a drive. And it may be a case of what could have been for the whole weekend, because that was proper pace at the end.
Yeah, you know, unbelievable race, what he did, you know, from the pit lane to go through the field on a race like that. You know, we also had a slow puncture on the first stint and had to come a bit early. So, you know, amazing pace. You know, we know Max. He has done that last year already, but I think, you know, this year may not be a win, but it was as impressive as what he has done last year.
Okay, just give us maybe now you can say there were some reports that you tried the Mexico upgrades. They didn't work. Did you go back to the Austin car? And which upgrades actually were on the car now that have made the car sort of come alive after the issue in qualifying that meant the balance wasn't really there?
You know, it's never only one thing, though. So, you know, it's fair to say that we have been trying quite a few things this weekend, arguably a bit too much. Hence, the cost we paid in the qualifying performance is difficult to test on a sprint weekend. So, you know, it's a mix of components. So I would not pinpoint to one element in particular. But it is fair to say that, you know, we were not completely happy with the car after the sprint race. Max finished P4, but it didn't feel right in terms of his feeling with the car, and the overall performance quite far from being able to challenge for the win. Nobody wanted to settle for fourth. We've tried to go very aggressive with some of the parameters. It didn't work in qualifying. We paid the price. That's what happens when you take risk. You need to accept that sometimes it's painful, and hence we took the decisions to change again the car. And from the grid, I managed to go through the field. So, of course, you don't want this sort of up and down every weekend, but, you know, we certainly will leave Brazil with quite a fair amount of learnings.
Okay, just final question. I know you're pushing on site. I know everybody in Milton Keynes, while working on the 26 car, is still pushing for as much as possible for this year. Yesterday, Max said, well, you can forget about the championship. He's just shown again today, hasn't he, that while you still don't know what's going to happen, you can never forget about anything when you've got Max in the car.
You know, I think the most important thing is that the car is alive. The car was able to fight at the right pace today, and that's the most important thing. And the rest, we try to have him to have a more quiet weekend in Vegas, but with the sort of pace that we had on Sunday.
Thank you very much, Laurent.
We say it so often, write Max Verstappen off at your peril. However, 49 points, I think he's being a realist, isn't he?
And I think they also need to get on top of why sometimes they come into a weekend and when they have the joy of three free practices, I'm going to get that right at some point, 3 free practices, they can turn it around, but on the sprint weekend they can't. They need to understand why that is going into every weekend, especially, as Max was saying, they lost the championship earlier this season rather than what we're seeing now. So I think that's something internally they need to think about.
I mean, they're brilliant at turning their weekends around, though, aren't they, Red Bull?
They are, but this is where, just listening to Laurent speaking there, I got the sense this is where they're hamstrung by the fact they're a one-car team. Because if you came to a weekend like this, where you only have one practice session, and you've got a few options in terms of packages and setups and updates to try, if you had 2 equal drivers, as McLaren do, you could put one on one car, one on the other car, and you could compare the data. The problem is when there's such a gulf between the 2 drivers, as Red Bull have got, they can't really trust whether the information is the driver or the car that's creating this gap. So this is where it's really creating an issue for them. And I think it's something to think about going forward, right? Next year, new rules are going to be updates all the time. They need 2 drivers, otherwise it's their development, they will fall behind.
There were a couple of penalties, weren't they, for Yuki Tsunoda, but he finished plumb last of those that actually finished the race. So, I mean, that highlights your point there. We're expecting a decision or an announcement either after Qatar or after the last race in Abu Dhabi with regards to who's going to be driving alongside Max. But again, Yuki's done himself no favours this weekend.
No, and it's exactly to Karun's point. They used him as the guinea pig in the sprint race to know for qualifying, and clearly they weren't able to get the data or what they needed going into qualifying, because then qualifying both cars were nowhere. So I completely agree. I think not only for just World Championship Constructors points, not only for the inter-team kind of sort of performance and morale, but also for car setup and to help Max, they need someone in that car to be able to help them.
Okay, Kimi Antonelli had a very good day today. Went off. Let's hear from the Italian. Brilliant job.
Was a big hit, to be fair, and yeah, just a shame to end Charles's race.
But it's your best result, and the way it was achieved, given what you've done in the sprint and in qualifying, being able to defend from Verstappen the way you did. Are you in to get another phase of your development? Do you feel you've properly arrived now in F1?
I think there's still learning to be made, and I think overall this weekend we've done an incredible job with the team. I think on my side, obviously P2 all the session basically, but still really good weekend. I think we maximized the performance, and that's the best we could have asked for, and also we gain a lot of points on the constructors, so we just need to keep up the game, and on my side keep performing at this level.
Maybe one more step to go next time, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, now we need to make the last bit of step. Will be amazing to get the first win by the end of the season, but obviously we know it's not going to be easy. But who knows? If we keep up like this and we're able to extract the best out of the car, I think it's going to be very achievable.
Well done.
Do you think we've seen Kimi Antonelli come of age today?
I don't know what that means in English, but we've always said, he needs time to develop. Yes, he will have great moments and then tougher moments, and today was...
It means, with Max coming, and there was a little moment on that last lap. Did you fear for the P2?
Yeah, he had that little slide, a little bit of an understeer. Yeah, of course, I thought that's going to be really difficult, but the young man was able to hold on to it.
And an important, obviously we don't want to wish unfortunate incidents, but with both Ferraris not finishing, it's a big score, not only in the sprint, but also today for the constructors.
Yeah, but let me say also a word about George. Both of them fighting a faster car from behind and holding on to it. That kind of rounded it up for us to see that, how they were able to fight. And yeah, for the Ferraris, we need to keep both feet on the ground. You can see you can have a wipe out weekend like the Ferraris had, and from one moment to the other you lose 30 points. So continue to work, score the points in the next coming races, and then that's the aim.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Toto. Amazing weekend from Kimi Antonelli.
A bit of time coming to put a whole weekend together, but this has by far been his most impressive weekend as a whole. If you look at every single session, every single race, he's done a great job, aside from that small little incident
Drew,
with
we
Oscar.
were talking to Uncle Bono before this, and he said they work with him, they put an arm around him, but he says he gives him a selective rollicking, I've got to use that word correctly, and he did one after Monza. He said just to give him a kick up the backside. He's responded well to that.
Yeah, I think, if you look at Zandvoort and Monza were the low points. I think in Spa he'd had a terrible qualifying there. Then he fell off Zandvoort, he fell off in Monza on the free practice days, and it's like, we know you're fast, we know you're talented, but this is not working. We need to find a different way of going about it. And they have, to their credit and to his credit. To me, this was a brilliant weekend for Kimi. Really good weekend. I felt like Miami, obviously, it was quicker than George. He did a great weekend, but it was almost like he didn't know how that happened. It just sort of happened, and maybe George struggled more. Whereas this weekend, it felt like it was building up, and this was a conclusive sort of culmination of this build-up the last few. He'll take a lot of heart from the last stint, the pressure from Verstappen. And he made one little mistake, did he, at the hairpin turn 7, but gathered it all up, and he'll take a lot of heart from the performance.
Bono's Pete Bonington, by the way, is race engineer, for those of you that might not have known, but a great relationship that they have gotten, all that experience from the years with Lewis Hamilton passed on to Kimi Antonelli.
Well, Ollie, P4 last time out, it's P6 today, but what a cracking race. Congratulations, great job, and more needed points for you and the team.
Yeah, it was a great race. Starting P8, I was 9th after lap 1, so that wasn't how it played out in the strategy meeting this morning. But I managed to make back that position at the end of lap 1, and then overtake one V-carb and then undercut the other one. So then we were on track, for a really good race, and the pace was fantastic. So really cleanly executed race. I'm really, really happy with that.
Pace has been fantastic all weekend.
Yeah, exactly. I think the sprint race was a bit more difficult, but starting out of position, it's really tough to overtake in the sprint without any tyre offset. But honestly, having finished the sprint, I had a great feeling about the main race, and my feeling was correct.
And tell us about how you were dealing with the last part of the race, because you were kind of a little bit of in Nowheresville. You had the one stoppers behind you, Hulkenberg and Liam Lawson, and was Piastri kind of edging ahead of you?
Yeah, of course he was pulling away from me. He's in a McLaren. He had newer tyres as well. So I was just trying to not fall asleep at the wheel in the last 15 laps. No, just trying to bring it home. Those are the longest laps of the race because, when you're focusing, you have a target, you need to overtake a car or catch a car, the laps fly by. But then when nothing's happening, you're just driving around, you're just really having to focus on the details and not do a silly mistake.
Okay, and just finally, you said coming into this weekend, okay, look, it's a different circuit from Mexico, different characteristics, don't expect too much. You've shown that the car is there, your pace is there as well. Vegas, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, any reason why we shouldn't see you in similar positions there?
No, I don't think so. I really think, in these last 4 events, we've been in the points back to back to back to back, and that's across really four quite different types of circuit. And we have 3 different ones coming up now, and I expect to be, fighting in the points in all of them. That's the goal.
Great stuff. Enjoy it. Well done. Thank you very much.
Great.
As you say, a small team, and it has a knock-on effect of small details as well. Things like pit stop equipment. The big teams spend hundreds of thousands of pounds, getting all of that right. Today Haas had a 3.9-second pit stop. It has a knock-on effect when you're in a small team across the board. But they're doing a fantastic job, and they're not that far off 6th in the constructors. That battle 6 to 9 is, I think,
2
super
points
close now.
are off Aston Martin. And you think of the size of that team that they're up against with the kind of money and talent that they've been able to employ. It's a David Goliath job.
It is, but it's also sometimes nice for someone like Ollie to come in and be in a smaller team and be able to kind of flourish and become the kind of big fish in that pond, because that kind of really allows him to kind of develop and learn in a really good environment. But for me, what stands out is these rookies, all of them. Kimi was teammates with Ollie last year in F2. The rest of them all competing against each other. Clearly, whatever was in the water when they were coming through the ranks, and however competitive junior motorsport is now, is excelling, because for all of them, they're just exceeding our expectations, in my opinion. And I think, what did we have? 6 rookies? Oh no, four rookies in the top 10. That was really bad counting. Yeah, 4 rookies in the top 10, which is very impressive.
It's great to see the new generation coming through, absolutely. And we saw that 2 more of them today. A little bit of contact. Yeah, they might have but as it is, it's a double point.
Well, Liam, a little bit of drama at the end here. First of all, congratulations on a fine strategy you managed to execute there to get that 7th place. What happened on the final lap? Did Isaac try a move around the outside?
Yeah, he was going for a move, and it's the type of corner that obviously curves in, and he's obviously trying and clear me before the braking, and I think just misjudged it. But obviously we both came out of it, so it was okay. And more importantly for the team to have 2 cars. 7 and 8 is great today.
Yeah, I suppose that's why we might ask the question, was it appropriate to make such a move given the hard-earned points, and particularly yourself with a single stop strategy? You're not expected to come under attack from a teammate right at the end, maybe.
It's the last lap of a race, honestly. I think there's no way that the team can expect, or anybody can expect, as much as it's the ideal thing to do, there's no way that we're not going to race for a position like that. So I respect it. Obviously, we're lucky that we came out of it, but it's been a great weekend for the team. Thank you.
Isaac, 8th place, might have been 7th on the final lap. I mean, to be fair to Liam, he says fair game. It was, if he'd been in your shoes, he'd have done the same thing. But there was a little contact between the two of them.
Yeah, but I pushed it a little too much. But honestly, it was very, very fun. You know, he went on a one stop, and at the very last lap, I mean, his gearbox, I think you can't do any better than that. And I tried, and I overdid it. Kind of my mistake. But yeah, just the strategy on the first couple of laps, just not good enough.
A good day for the team, particularly with the likes of Aston Martin not scoring.
Not for me.
I love Isaac Hadjar's attitude, don't you? I mean, he calls it as he sees it, and he's pretty harsh on himself.
He's very self-aware. I mean, he's sometimes a little bit too harsh on himself, and I think sometimes his radio messages need kind of managing. I think today we heard his race engineer kind of tell him to calm down, to relax a little bit, but he's very self-aware, is very self-critical, even the way that when you're in the cockpit, sometimes you make a judgment, you make a call, but it's hard to know if you've got it wrong or right sometimes. And the fact that he, in that moment, I overpushed that was a bit too on the limit. I think he was waving to apologise to Liam. It's very telling in his character, but also very impressive.
Can't wait to see him up against Max Verstappen if that should happen.
He's a very, very talented driver, but a great character.
Yes.
And I think I can understand why he's annoyed, right? Because in the end, he's lost to Lawson and Behrman today. He qualified ahead of them. So for him in the internal team battle, he's lost out, and that's where the frustration is.
Word on Liam though as well.
I think, you know what, Liam is doing more and more in the same way that Yuki's struggling. Liam's doing more and more to secure his seat at Racing Bulls for next year. Because we know they were looking to announce that seat, we believe, before this Grand Prix.
It was after Mexico, yeah.
So before this Grand Prix. And that's been pushed back. So clearly they're still thinking about which one to take. And on the current run of form, Liam is doing everything right if they're still having the conversation.
OK, Isaac Hadjar's hero is Lewis Hamilton, but I don't think Lewis Hamilton would be feeling like a hero right now. Bad day at the office, bad weekend at the office for Ferrari. Here is the 7-time world champion.
I mean, this is a nightmare. I've been living it for a while, so the flip between the dream of driving for this amazing team and then the nightmare of results that we've had, the ups and downs, it's challenging. But tomorrow I'll get back up. I'll keep training. I'll keep working with the team, and I really wanted to get them good points this weekend. But I'll come back as strong as I can in the next race and try to recover it.
Yeah, it wasn't the dream that he was sold. In fact, in his own words, a nightmare.
Yeah, that race couldn't have gone much worse. The first lap, and then obviously the incident with his front wing, but he's out of position, obviously qualifying 13th already. That's not what he's grown to expect. It's not why he joined Ferrari. It's not what he would have wanted coming to a track like this that he's gone so well at, knows so well. So yeah, I think we've heard it all there. It's not good times.
Because until this weekend, his run of form since his summer break has been great. He's been a match for Leclerc all the way through until Mexico. He got the penalty in Mexico, which annoyed him. And this weekend, it just didn't quite work out for him in qualifying. They both were struggling on Friday in the sprint quali. So I think hopefully this is just a one-off. That's what I'm trying to say. Because his form before this weekend has been a match for Charles.
OK, let's finish, though, with the state of the championship. As we said, we're going to take a week's break, and then we're going to come back for the triple header, which is 3 races and a sprint also in Qatar. Very much advantage now, Lando.
Big time. His to lose now, but he's got really strong performance, good momentum. The car goes well at tracks like Qatar. I feel like Max is going to be coming strong, but the points difference, Lando just needs to bring it home, in my opinion.
Echo everything Jamie said. I'll tell you, can I throw in a little left field championship battle I'm intrigued by? Kimi Antonelli versus Lewis Hamilton. There's only, I think, now 26 points between them. That'd be a big boost for Mercedes. Can you imagine if they managed to get the rookie to beat the guy who's left them and gone to Ferrari?
There we go, that's your lot then, or just about your lot, because Ted's going to come back in a couple of moments' time and do his notebook. So that it follows us here on Sky Sports F1. But as I mentioned, we're back in a fortnight's time for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Thanks to Karun, thanks to Jamie, thanks to you at home for watching. But yes, the perfect weekend for Lando Norris, and the Brit is in control of this championship. From us all here, bye for now.